I'm audible properly?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So today we are just going to discuss life cycle event. Okay. Now, whenever someone will ask you life cycle event, so first assumption is like life cycle event. Does directive have a life cycle event? Quick. Does directive have a life cycle event? Guys, answer it quickly. Does directive have a life cycle event?
Yes.
Yes.
Right? Because directive
No,
is component is nothing but a directive. So if component has some life cycle event, those are nothing but a directive only. Okay. So many guys get confused like directive doesn't have a life cycle event. Only component life cycle events are there. Component is kind of a directive. So directives also has the life cycle event. Whenever you create custom directive, you can write your life cycle event over there also. Okay. The main difference is like the normal directive doesn't have the HTML code. Just the component is a special directive which has the HTML template. Fine. So we know like we have around 7 to 8 lifecycle events. So we will just actually see what lifecycle and what will be the scenario we have to use that particular lifecycle event. Okay. So first of all, ngOnInit. So implement onInit. So we know like ngOnInit. What's the main use of ngOnInit? Why do we use it? Why do we use it ngOnInit? What do we do over here?
Whenever you want to load starting load, that time we will use ngOnInit.
Whenever
Whenever you want to load anything before whenever our customer critical load, before that also you want to load
see,
any data, then
normally
you will use.
ngOnInit we use to trigger the API call. Okay. Normally ngOnInit event cycle we use to trigger our API call. As simple as that. Okay. If you again say anything else, not then again they will ask the question like no, apart from API call, what is means whatever. Like if you say anything else now, they will again go deep into that because ngOnInit when it will trigger once your component get initialized. As simple as that. First your constructor will execute. After that ngOnInit will trigger. So ngOnInit we use to just trigger our API call function. Okay. So this function we normally do it over here. Fine. Apart from this, what do we use in ngOnInit? What do we do in ngOnInit? Anyone? Apart from this, what do
Assign
we
the
do?
variable value.
No, that's the constructor, na?
Variables.
Karan, that's very basic. That's what I said. Why do we use the constructor then? What's the use of constructor? Right? Constructor, we use it to assign variable value, initialization. Okay. So let's say you have created a subject, or instead of this, now let's create a subject in your service. Okay, in my product service, I have created a subject. Let's say on logged user data colon subject. It's a string type of data. Again, I'm going to get the user ID, new subject. Okay. So in my service, I have created a subject. Now let's say you want to receive this data in your component. So that you can do it over here. Again, we need to inject it also. User, sorry, product service, no? Prod SRV will inject our product service. So this dot prod service dot our subject name dot subscribe. Okay. So now got it? Either you trigger your API call function from ngOnInit, or if you are doing any subscription, that should go into your ngOnInit. Clear? Understood?
Yes.
Now, if you have a routing, query parameter route, right? And in your route, you have something parameter. How do you read that value from the query parameter?
This dot activated route dot
Right. So
capture.
where should we write that code? in constructor. Why? Why we should get why we should read the query parameter data in query constructor? That also we subscribe, right? This dot activated route dot params dot subscribe. There also we subscribe. But I'm saying that we should do in our constructor. Why is it? Because let's say your
Because-
component is the edit component. And once you read the data, then you are making the API call to get the user. So before loading your component, your API call should trigger, right? Your ngOnInit will trigger once your component basic initialization is done. But constructor will call before that, right? So that's why whenever we read the query parameter data from your router activated route, so that we should do in your constructor. But again, someone will say like, yeah, we can do that same thing in ngOnInit also. Yes, but again, we have to show the loader, right? So both are correct. Okay. So ngOnInit will normally, we will use ngOnInit to trigger the API call function and to write any subscription like this. Okay. So this is our ngOnInit. After that, let's say in my HTML component, I have a p tag. And here I will have, this is demo text. Okay, one more example I will show you. Instead of text now, we will get input type text. After the text, we will have a button, read value. Let's say you have a text box and you have a button. Let's say interviewer asks you, like on click of button, you need to read the text box value. How you will read it? On click of button, you need to read the text box value without using ng model. How you will do it?
Doc
A template reference
with
variable.
the doc
Right.
selector with the
So
ID.
we will create a template reference variable over here, text. Okay. Then we have to create a view child @ view child. Then whatever the template reference variable you have given, it will go over here. My text. What will be the data type? Element ref, right? Because reference of the element we are storing. I'm not saying because we cannot initialize element ref. Now, on click of this, you can read the value. Correct? Constant value is equal to this dot your native element, that is, what's the name? My text dot native element dot, let's say, value. Okay, this is how you read the text box value without using ng model. But let's say on the page load also I need to read the text box value. On the page load, I need to read it. Now this code, if I put it over here on ngOnInit, code, I will put it over here. Let's save and check. I'm not running the project. So open. It's not breaking. It's not breaking. Let's open topic test component. Wait. Okay, sorry, we didn't navigate it. Get the route of this component. That is test topic. Let's disable the debugger. Still debugger is there. Why? Okay. So now see here, it breaked. What's the error? Cannot read properties of undefined, reading native element. So whatever we have got before native element, it is undefined. Means this, my text is undefined, means my view child is undefined. Why we got it as undefined? Why we got this as undefined? View child we are not able to read. Why?
Because the HTML is not rendered yet.
Right? So same case, if I click on the button now, there you will get it. If I click on it, see, we are able to get the text box value. But on the page load, we are not able to read it. That's because ngOnInit will execute once your basic component got created. your view is not initialized yet. Means whatever the template you have, that is not initialized yet. Before your HTML templates get initialized, your ngOnInit will execute. Okay. Now, so in that case, you have to go for ngAfterViewInit. AfterViewInit means once your view has been successfully initialized, then this lifecycle event will trigger. So ngAfterViewInit, and same piece of code I'm putting it over here. See, now we don't have error. Okay. Let's reload one more time. Okay. By default, text box value is empty. So see, we are able to read it. Understood the difference between ngOnInit and ngAfterViewInit? So ngOnInit will trigger first. ViewInit, in the name itself, once your view has been successfully initialized, then this event will trigger. So let's say on the page load, you want to read some data. Either it's a normal HTML or a component view child. You will write that piece of code into your AfterViewInit. Because once your template gets successfully initialized, then this function will execute. Clear? Understood? Now, just like
Yes.
this, ViewInit, we have view checked also. After view checked. So first, your view will initialize, then this event will trigger just to check like if whatever the variable you are binding it, all are properly binded or not. This is just to check it. Okay. So ngAfterView checked. Let's add console.log. See, we have so many lifecycle events, but we cannot explain everything with practical example. Like this view check, content check, these are actually internal. Might be there is a practical scenario also, but I am also not aware. Okay, whatever the projects I have till now, I have used ngAfterViewInit, doCheck, ngAfterContentInit, that almost I have used ngOnDestroy. But content check and view check, still I'm not able to find a particular scenario where these events are getting useful. Okay. So let's see that content check when it's print. So see, after view check, it is continuously, why it is continuously going? We don't have any subscribe is there. Get user over here. And this is over here. Why it is going continuous? Let me just uncomment this. Why it is executing continuously? Nothing is happening in the browser. Something is strange. See, normally view check will happen if let's say any change happen in your browser. Let's say you clicked on a button, your text box value get changed. Your view will again reinitialize. Whenever your view got reinitialized, again it will check the view like properly data binding and everything is properly happened or not. That's the lifecycle event it will execute. Once your data binding and everything is properly checked, that's the view check. So first, after view unit will check, after that, this will execute. Okay. I'm not sure why it is continuously executing. We implemented this and we implemented this also. Nothing is happening also, no set interval or nothing is like that. Okay. Anyway, doesn't matter. Don't focus on this because as I said now, whenever you get asked this question, first you name all the lifecycle event in a sequence and upfrontly you explain one or two. Okay. So that don't give your interviewer chance to go for view checked and content check. Whatever you know, like ngOnInit, ngAfterViewInit, ngOnDestroy, explain one or two. Then he might say, no, you have explained ngOnDestroy, now explain ngAfterViewInit. Because the checked event, either view or content, those are really limited use case. Okay. Now, so ngAfterViewInit is clear. Like if you have to read the view child and everything, that kind of code we write it in ngAfterViewInit. After that, content init. Okay. Now content init is little bit tricky. So I have created a reusable component that is my button. Okay. Now in my button component, what I have is everything. See the my button reusable component. It's just a button. Okay. Normally, when we have to create a reusable button, what do we normally do? What how many input we need in, let's say you, someone asks you to create a reusable button component. How many input you will be needing minimum? What input you will need in
First
button
is the
component?
type of button name.
Button name, right? But here we have ng content. Okay. So this is like wherever you use this selector. Okay. Now this component I'm going to use into my particular this component. Okay. Now I will comment this, and instead of I'm going to use my button. Now over here, let's say read value. Okay. Now see. Let's say, yeah, HTML. See, read value is coming. So this button is coming from your reusable component. Okay. And while using the button, how we have using, wherever I'm using the selector, in between selector, whatever I'm passing, that gets rendered inside the button because we have a ng content over here. So whatever the HTML code you put it over here in between the selector, that will get rendered over here. This is ng content. Okay. Now, over here, let's say this is a text. Before the text, I can pass the icon also. Let's say I, and let's say class fa, that font or some user icon I'm passing. Okay. The icon is not coming. Icon is there. I think CSS, I don't have it. Font or some code. Let me quickly get that CDN. Those who know ng content, you will be able to properly understand this. Okay. Okay. So see, now label is coming. Now in my button component, if I have to read this icon, means by view child. Okay. Understand that this icon and the label we are passing from my parent component from here. Okay. And whatever the icon I'm passing, let's say I need the text of it, or let's say this span is there, and the text value I'm passing it inside the span. Okay. Now in my child component over here, I need to read what value you have in the button. I mean, inside the span, what value you have, you need to read that. How you will read that? In your child component. I need to read what value I have over here in your child component. How you will read that?
Through input.
No, but we don't have input. No, I'm directly passing the HTML. And this HTML will directly get rendered over here inside button tag. We don't have input.
View child.
But how you will create? You don't have a view child over here, na? Because content is getting loaded dynamically. Where you will provide hash property. Because in ng content, sometimes you get one icon also is there, span also is there. I need the text from the span. Correct? Here I can pass anything, na?
Yes.
So how you will add the view child? Because here you don't have the element, na? If you have the element over here, then only you will create the view child. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So to the
Now here will contain the, what was that? See, I think I have already created. Yeah. Content child. Just like view child, we have one more thing, that is content child. View child will work if the element is already present in your component. Then only you will, then only by creating the view child, you can get an access of it. But let's say content means your element is getting injected dynamically. So you cannot provide a hash property over there, correct? So in this sequence, see properly, okay? In my parent component, here I'm adding a hash property. What is that? Icon. Okay. So see, I'm passing some HTML inside that span. I'm passing icon over here, or let's say btn text. Okay. Same thing we do it with viewChild also, right? But I'm passing this viewChild from the parent component. Now, in my child component, instead of viewChild, I have to read the content because here I have the ng content. So content is going to dynamically inject. So if the HTML tag, HTML code is going to inject dynamically, and to read that, we have to go for a content child. Okay. So this ng content child and your whatever the template reference variable you have passed it over there, that text. Let's change what is that? Button text. It will go over here. Button text span. Okay. Now, just like in ng viewChild, where we use viewChild in ngAfterViewInit. Just like that, ng content. Now, in this ng content, just a minute. Okay. So here we have content. Now we are reading some data from the content. So here ngAfterContentInit will be more useful. After content init. Okay. Now ngAfterContentInit. This constant btn text is equal to this dot my viewChild name btn text span dot native element dot inner text. Sorry, inner text. Okay. And if I just copy paste this line in ngOnInit also, just to show you, like here we won't get it, but here we should get it. Save everything. Let's try. Okay. So somewhere we got broke, our code got broke, line number 24. So see ngOnInit. In our button component, if we are trying to read the content viewChild, we are getting this undefined because my content is not initialized yet. Okay. See the name itself content, because in this app, your button component, here you are going to render another content, which is going to, you are going to get from some another component. So this is external content. Once your external content is initialized properly, then your lifecycle will event. Okay. Now if I comment this, let's add a debugger. See, here I got the element and button text. Understood? So this is content init. Means whenever your external content is going to be, means in your component, some external content is getting projected. That's your content, external content, apart from your HTML. Understood?
Yes,
Might
sir.
be hard because
Yes.
those who understand, apart from basic, also those who have properly understand the basic concept of ng content, if you have used somewhere, then only you will understand this. Okay. So ng content init, external content you have in your component, once that get initialized successfully, after that this life cycle event will be executed. Okay. So this is the example you have to give whenever you have to explain content in it. Nowadays, what is happening? Everyone knows. See, I'm also looking for a change, right? Any job vacancy post I'm seeing now, Naukri. Let's say it has 5 to 7 years or 7 to 8 years experience or 7 to 10. Na? Still, I can see if the job post is less than, let's say, 5 within a week also. Within a week, around 5, what do we say? 1,500 to 1,700 people are applying to it. Getting it? For a job post for Angular, let's say vacancy is for experience, let's greater than 6 to 10 years. But still, within a week, around 1,500 people are applying. So consider from their interview perspective, they are not going to limit their question to very basic. Correct?
Yes.
Right? They have to go out of the path now. So apart from ngOnInit, ngAfterInit, they might ask ngContentInit also. Okay. Now, ngDoCheck. That is very tricky one again. After do check, okay. Then ngAfter ngDoCheck. Fine. Now here I'm printing console.log. Now again, like for seeing the practical example, now we have to implement that zone in that zone we change some value. Again, it will take so much time, but those who know like what is zone, how do you create a zone and some code you can execute inside that zone, those only will able to understand that. But again, like do check, if someone asks you, it is, let's say any change detection happen in your component, if any chain detection happen and you need to write a code on that, so this is the place where you will be writing the code. Okay, in your component any chain detection happen and after that you need to write the code, so this is the place where you will write it. Okay, for now I will just print it and I will show you the example. We need one more text box or just a normal variable I create. See it properly. Okay, little bit hard to understand. Now in ngDoCheck I'm assigning this dot name to Chetan, and this variable I will be printing in my HTML also in interpolation. Okay, so see, we have a click event also. Start a click event. So we have a click event also, and we are using interpolation also. And on click of this button, we are changing the variable value also. And one more, or in ngOnInit, I will add a set timeout also. Set timeout, let's say 9 seconds. And here I will change the variable value. This dot name is equal to Ankit. Fine. See now how many times your ngDoCheck will execute. Oh, wait, not here. Oh, here we need to do it. ngDoCheck got executed. Why it is still executing? Something is continuously happening in our component. I'm also not able to understand what is happening continuously. Because of view child or what? Let's comment this. Why this do check is continuously executing? This should execute if any change detection is there, but our component doesn't have anything. Let's empty this, everything. Look at that API call. Let's comment it. Still, it is continuously executing. Anyone getting anything? Why it is continuously executing? We don't have any code like that. This is going to execute only once. Product service. Why do check is continuously executing?
From where the date is coming?
Hmm?
The date
Where is that?
in console, any date, I think.
This is just normal. You can print any date. We don't have any something code like which will execute again and again. Why it is doing like this in ng content also it was doing the same thing. If our view is ideal, it should not execute that. Continuously it is executing, but how and why? Let's try to go to the call stack. ng topic. So going from zone only. But no change detection happen. Then why it is set timeout detect Angular where it is actually executing. Wait, do I have anything in my app component? Oh my god, the set timeout is here. Just wait, let me comment everything. It's fine. Got it? Understood how I debug the code? Guys,
Yes.
okay. So this was happening continuously, but in our component, we didn't had any code like that, which was continuously executing. But our component get loaded into our app component, right? And in my app component, I had this code, this windows.active listener. It was continuously checking. I have this code something for something else. So this code was continuously executing. Means my chain detection was getting triggered. That's why here also ngDoCheck was getting continuously triggered. And same like that ng content also. Okay, because my app component has that code. Okay, now we'll be able to properly understand. Nothing we commented, no? Yeah. So ngDoCheck got executed one time. After 9 seconds, again it will execute. Because in set timeout, we have, after set timeout, again we are changing the variable value. Okay. And that variable, we are actually using it into HTML. So chain detection will happen. See. Okay. Now, if I click on this variable, click on this button, inside this button, again, I'm changing this variable value. So again, one chain detection will trigger. See, again, ngDoCheck got executed. Understood? So ngDoCheck will execute for every chain detection cycle. Whenever any chain detection happen in your Angular component, your do check will execute. Clear? ngDoCheck. So you just have to limit your answer to this till this only. Saying ngDoCheck will execute whenever our chain detection, whenever any chain detection happen in our component. That's it. You don't have to go further because if you need a proper example now, I have it, but again, like not sure, like if you will be able to understand again, it will get confused. Okay. I have practically done it. If anyone wants, after the session, I will share it to you. You can try it. You have to debug it. Then only you will understand. Okay. But see, whenever you are giving answer, you have to limit your answer to some particular point. Again, there will be again question to your answer. So ngDoCheck, whenever any lifecycle chain detection happen in your component, this lifecycle event will trigger. That's it. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So ngDoCheck we have done, ngViewInit, ngContent also done. Now the last is ngDestroy. Then we will see the ngOnChanges. Okay. Now here you see, where is the API call? Yeah. Here we have done the API call. Let's create a normal variable, user list, :any of array. Now on the page load, we are triggering this API call function, and whatever the data you get, that you are storing it over here in this variable. Okay. So what this code actually does now, it is constantly looking for, whenever you write subscribe, okay, it will constantly look if it is emitting the data. So there is some memory associated with this. Okay. Consider this is your API call subscribe only, normal API call subscribe. But let's say in case of subject, that subject. Okay. In case of this subject value might get changed from multiple time. From anywhere this subject value get changed. So whenever you subscribe, it is constantly checking, like if value is emitted, then it will execute. So something memory is it is holding. Whenever you subscribe something, either it's a API call, either it's a subject or behavior subject, there is some memory associated with it whenever you write a subscription. Okay. So when you destroy your component, okay, now we have this API call function. Okay. This dot user list is equal to result. So when you destroy this component, when you navigate from this component to another component, that subscription memory will be as that. It won't get clear. That memory won't get free. So that's why we say that memory leak. So this is happen because there is a subscription object created. That object won't get clear itself. So for handling that, what do we do? We have to unsubscribe that. Okay. So we have to create the unsubscribe first. So we will create a subscription array. And data type will be your subscription. Okay. We have created a subscription array. Now, wherever you write the subscribe, either in case of your subject, subscribe, or it's API call. Whatever the subscription object you get, you can store that subject subscribe is equal to this. So your subscription object you are storing into a variable, and now this variable you can push it to your subscription list. Whatever the subscription you are doing inside your component, all you are pushing it over here. Either you can store this into a variable, or another thing here, this dot subscription list dot push, and this piece of code you can put it inside the push. Same thing. Either you store this particular thing into a variable and then push it to a subscription. Either you push this whole thing over here. Okay. Now, once your component is getting destroyed, so on destroy, ngOnDestroy, what you will do, you will clear the subscription. So this dot subscription dot for each. Okay. And subscription dot unsubscribe. So that memory leak won't happen now because you have done the properly unsubscribe also. So in ngOnDestroy, we normally unsubscribe whatever the subscription we are making inside your component. This is one use case. Can anyone tell me another use case of ngDestroy? What else we can do in ngOnDestroy?
So for the form, if the user switch from one page to
Right.
another form,
Let's say you have a form, user started filling it. Okay. And let's say he accidentally clicked on some another page and he trying to navigate. We show that alert, like you are trying to navigate. Are you sure you want to navigate? So that piece of code also you write it over here. Now, how do you handle that? How you will handle that? What code you will write?
so alert or any model.
Yeah, but what code you will write? How do you know like user was filling something? Let's say if user just loaded the form, he doesn't touch any element. We allow him to navigate without showing that warning. But if user started filling something, then only we show that warning, correct? So how do we write that piece of code? How do you write a condition on that?
So we
You
have
will
to check the
check.
value of each control. If
No,
everything is empty,
you
then
will check form is touch or not. Whole form you need to check, na? Why you will check every control, na?
okay.
Whole form checked or not, that you will check. And if it is checked, you will show that warning. Okay. Fine. So ngOnDestroy we use for the for clearing for unsubscribing whatever the subscription we are doing, or for the showing that warning before navigation. Okay. Now the last is your a reusable component, ngOnChanges. So now in my button component, let's say we have this user input. Okay. Now in my parent component, let's create an object user obj colon any. Okay. What we will write out over here. It's a name. City. Okay. So we have created this object, and in button component, let's use app hyphen my button component. We will pass a input. Our input name is user, and we will pass user object over here. Okay. Now in my button component, I have ngOnChanges is already implemented. Okay. Now see over here. So whenever you have to explain ngOnChanges you can implement in case of reusable component only. If your parent component is there, you cannot use ngOnChanges. ngOnChanges we can use only in case of the reusable component only, because this gets connected with your input. Okay, that's why. Now, so on the page load, we are assigning some value to this variable. And once we click on this button, read value, here I'm changing the variable value again. So this dot user object is equal to name. What we are printing it over here. Same object I will copy. ABC, MNO, Mumbai. Okay. And this object we will try to print it also here. Let's not print it. We just want to check what do we get in ngOnChanges. Okay. Where it is breaking? Content because we didn't pass any content. Okay. So first time we got in changes, you can see we got user means input. So you see current value we got and previous value is undefined because this is first time ngOnChanges is executing. When we created that object, Pune and ABC was there. So current value we got and previous value is undefined because this is the first time ngOnChanges got triggered. Continue. Okay. Now once I click on it, I'm again changing that variable value. Once I click, I'm changing this variable value. See, again ngOnChanges got triggered. Now here you see this is your previous value ABC and this is your new value. Understood? So ngOnChanges will trigger whenever your input value gets changed, and you can track also if what was the previous value and what is the new value. See, this was your previous value, and on click of button we change it. So this is how you do it. Understood? So ngOnChanges will help you to check to write the code whenever any input value got changed. Okay.
Can we do with doCheck this one?
Yeah, I will explain. Everyone understood this? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now see the variation. Now in my parent component, instead of using equal to, what I will do, I will use dot. I will just change the name. I'm not using equal to, okay? Name is equal to MNO. I'm just changing a particular field from my object. Let's reload. No. So first time we got ngOnChanges. Current changes is name and the Pune. Name is ABC and previous value is undefined. First time it is executing. Continue. Now once I click on the button, what I'm doing from my object, I'm just changing a one field value. Okay. Read value. I'm changing a particular field name only. I'm not changing the whole object. Okay. Continue. Now my ngOnChanges didn't execute. Strange, right? My input value got changed, na? Understood or no?
Yes.
My input value got changed because previously in my name I had ABC. Now it is MNO. My object value got changed, na? But ngOnChanges didn't execute. Okay. Now here comes the do check. We have to do check, na? Let's add a debugger over here. Okay. Now if I change the value, once I change the property value, my ngDoCheck will trigger. And here by creating this key value pair data by using differ, we can check what was the previous value and what is the next value. Okay. Let me add a debugger over here. Wait, why it is not going inside? The differ, where is the differ? Differ I have initialized. ngOnInit I have done it. I'm listening to this. Is it undefined or what? Let's reload. Why differ is undefined? This particular line is not getting executed or what? ngOnInit is differ is undefined. Let's add a not over here. We need to initialize the differ first. Okay, once I change the value, it will go to differ inside that. Okay, so currently this user has name as MNO. Okay, then over here in current item, see current value we got it and previous value. So again, like as I said now, this is just one more level. Okay, so again, like you don't have to explain this, but let's say if someone is going into it and let's say you have experience of more than 5 year or 6 year now, at least you should know this. Like if you have for your input, if you are passing an object, if you use equal to sign, then your ngOnChanges will trigger. But if you change a particular value, then your ngOnChanges won't trigger. But how do you track? Like what's the new value? Then in ngDoCheck, you can do that. Okay. So this is the one more last example I wanted to explain. Not necessary that everyone will be able to understand that, and not necessary also that you should try it also. Okay. But those who have more than 6 years or 7 years now, you at least have to give it a try. Not required that they will ask you to actually implement it, but if you tell it also, like in case of that scenario, we cannot get ngOnChanges won't trigger, but that thing you can do it ngDoCheck. Then next question will be like, how do you read the value? So you can say that differ. I also don't know like what differ. So what hash map kind of thing we are creating, key value pair differ, and we are listening to this particular object, and then we check the latest object. Means this component will get the updated value over here, but it won't execute this ngOnChanges because variable value got equal to sign we have not used. That's why. Okay. Understood? So this is all you need to explain. Just content check and view check you have to ignore. But apart from that, all lifecycle event, you should have a real-time example ready whenever you are explaining. Those who are having 2 or 3 years experience, ngOnInit, ngOnChanges, ngAfterViewInit, and ngDoCheck, 4 are enough. But if you have more than experience, ngDoCheck and ngContentCheck, that is also important. ngAfterContentCheck, that is also important to you. Okay. Clear? Everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, fine then.
Like I want to tell.
Sorry, your voice
Where
coming.
will you like? Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
I think. Just clarify me. Like differ where you use. What real situation you will use differ?
And no means
Like what scenario you want to use differ? Like whenever I want to use
see differ
differ.
is like we are checking this particular object. Okay. So every time we are see when differ is like kind of a hash map, right? Key value pair data we are checking. That's the only purpose of differ. Okay. We are checking like if the previous value and the next value by using this differ, we get the changes. See, difference we are checking, you can say now. That's the name differ. Key value pair difference. You instead of writing this also now, you can write the manual code also because in your object you will get the new value. Okay. But I saw this differ
Whenever you
also.
will
That's
use any array like key and value pairs, that time only you will use differ. I mean,
yeah, key value pair data. Array, it doesn't have key value pair data, na? So
yes.
in case of array, you
Object.
cannot use
I mean
this.
object.
Yeah.
Object, correct?
Yeah.
Whenever you.
Okay. Someone sent
Oh,
me like in TCS, I think they have asked this question like, what's the use of differ, this key value differ? So that's why I tried that. So within doCheck also we can use like this. Fine. Okay, let's connect tomorrow.
thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you.